Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the second episode of my series, The Week That Was in Data. This is Yasub Mannan Jiruwala, and I'm a principal database architect with 16 years of experience working on SQL Server, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, and cloud technology. In this series, I take the viewers through the latest happenings in the world of data in the last 1 week. In this week's episode, we cover the happenings in the world of data from 18th June to 25th June. So let's get started with this week's happenings. Cyber attack leaking data of lakhs of Indians, priority of Dragon Force. Personal data of lakhs of Indians from at least 3 different sources has been hacked and leaked on the dark web since 18 June 2022. After a spate of website hacks and defacements, the second wave of Ops Patuk, the ongoing cyber attack against India, seems to be focusing on data leaks. The cyber attack is being spearheaded by Dragon Force, a pro-Palestine hacktivist group based in Malaysia, which issued a clarion call on the internet on June 10. Dragon Force appealed to Muslim hackers all over the world to unite and avenge the derogatory remarks about Prophet Muhammad. Hacking of Pi is a major concern for law enforcement agencies the world over. Pi is personally identifiable information. It gives rise to a wide range of other cyber crimes. Pi is typically sold on dark web forums which double as underground online marketplaces to the highest bidder. This data is then used for a variety of crimes like identity theft, sextortion, SIM card cloning, phishing, and online harassment. The leak of a mobile number is the worst as it immediately makes the victims vulnerable to every kind of cybercrime in which the first contact is made via phone calls or SMS. Cyber criminals, after getting this data, contact all these victims claiming to be from government, cellular service providers, or banks. Thereafter, they convince the victim into revealing sensitive details like banking credentials or convince them to install screen sharing apps that gives the criminals complete access to their cell phones. The viewers are suggested to protect their and their customers' Pi data with the highest possible security protocols in place. Ex-AWS engineer convicted of hacking data of 100 million customers. A former AWS engineer has been found guilty of hacking into more than 100 million customers' cloud storage systems and stealing data linked to the 2019 Capital One breach. Paige Thompson, a 36-year-old former tech worker, was convicted in the US District Court in Seattle of 7 federal crimes connected to her scheme to hack into cloud computer data storage accounts and steal data and computer power for her own benefit. She was arrested in July 2019 after Capital One alerted the FBI to Thompson's hacking activity. Thompson is scheduled for sentencing by US District Judge Robert S. Lasnik on September 15, the US Department of Justice said in a statement. Thompson used her hacking skills to steal the personal information of more than 100 million people and hijack computer servers to mine cryptocurrency. The intrusion to Capital One accounts impacted more than 100 million US customers. The company was fined $80 million and settled customer lawsuits for $190 million. TikTok moves US user data to Oracle servers. The move comes nearly 2 years after a US national security panel ordered parent company ByteDance to divest TikTok because of fears that US user data could be passed on to China's communist government. TikTok said it has completed migrating information on its US users to servers at Oracle Corp in a move that could address US regulatory concerns over data integrity on the popular short video app. TikTok is one of the world's most popular social media apps with more than 1 billion active users globally and counts the US as its largest market. The United States has been increasingly scrutinizing app developers over the personal data they handle, especially if some of it involves US military or intelligence personnel. Google's data plans in Saudi Arabia will risk lives, say activists. Internet giant Google is creating a cloud region in Saudi Arabia. It says it will protect users there, but digital rights activists say the firm will be putting the lives of government critics at risk. Saudi Arabia doesn't exactly have a positive track record when it comes to digital espionage. In 2018, the country's government reportedly used the notorious spy software Pegasus on devices belonging to the family of Jamal Khashoggi, the Saudi dissident who was killed that year in a gruesome assassination allegedly orchestrated by the government. In 2019, two former Saudi employees of Twitter in the US were charged with using the popular social media platform to unmask critics of the Saudi governments. And last year, a Saudi aid worker who had used a Twitter account to make jokes about his government was jailed for 20 years. His case is believed to be connected to the government's infiltration of Twitter. And then there's Google. The online giant has the most popular search engine and most used web-based email service in the world. Part of US company Alphabet Inc., Google regularly boasts about how carefully it protects user data, but it has also had some noteworthy run-ins with authoritarian leaders. Sites go offline after cloud computing network Cloudflare outage. Content delivery network Cloudflare reported a critical incident at 2:43 p.m. June 21, noting that connectivity had been disrupted in broad regions. Chat platform Discord, video streaming service Crunchyroll, and e-commerce platform Shopify were among the services affected. Some cryptocurrency trading platforms like Coinbase were also affected. Cloudflare said it had implemented a fix at 3:20 p.m. and was monitoring the results. DBS Bank was also affected in the outage. In response to queries, Cloudflare told ST the outage was not the result of an attack. A network change in some of our data centers caused a portion of our network to be unavailable, said a spokesman. Cloudflare added that the users may have had difficulty reaching websites and services that rely on its network from approximately 2:28 p.m. to 3:20 p.m. Singapore time. Non-personal data may be removed from Personal Data Protection Bill, India. It is unlikely that non-personal data that protect a person's identity will become part of the upcoming data protection law that is currently being finalized by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, according to a report. Non-personal data can be one that has never been linked to a natural person or data that has once personal but has been anonymized through the use of certain techniques to ensure that individuals to whom the data relates cannot be identified. On December 11, 2019, the Union Ministry of Electronics and Information introduced the bill in the Rajya Sabha. The same day, it was referred to a joint parliamentary committee. Despite the fact that the 2019 bill was solely focused on personal data, it did mention non-personal data, and its addition was recommended by the JPC. However, the committee presented its findings in December of last year, and the administration has been reviewing them since then. Several members of the parliament spoke out against the final text, claiming that it gave the government unbridled exemptions, which was a source of concern. At that time, the panel advocated broadening the scope of planned data protection legislation to include both personal and non-personal data, as well as establishing a single administration and regulation authority, tightening regulation for social media platforms, along with establishing a statutory media regulatory authority on the lines of Press Council of India. As reported recently, an insider allegedly stated that Centre may have decided that it's more important to defend the Supreme Court's declaration of the fundamental right to privacy rather than adding non-personal data, which would have caused uncertainty. Wimbledon hoping big data will improve fan experience. Wimbledon is turning to big data to help improve fans' tennis knowledge after discovering even ticket holders at the championships were not aware of most of the players in the game. Crowds at this year's tournament expected to return to sold-out levels with easing of coronavirus restrictions are to be exposed to more facts and figures organizers hope will get them closer to the sport. AI-powered stats will seek to better explain the strengths and weaknesses in players' games, but also predict upsets and rising stars with data built in part from trawling newspapers' headlines. Spectators at Wimbledon Fortnight, as well as television viewers and app users, will have access to Win Factor, a tool that will aggregate data from a number of sources to better predict a player's chances of victory in a given match. Fans will be able to input their own match predictions while being encouraged to scour more information on some of the game's lesser known players. Wimbledon will be leaning on IBM, its technology partner of 33 years, to provide the information. While the technology company boasts of its artificial intelligence capabilities, it also has staff physically recording stats courtside on every Wimbledon match and says it has 9.2 million tennis data points on record. Another data tool uses AI to score media sources to gauge sentiment on players, leaving open the possibility that a tabloid scandal could have an unwelcome effect on a player's win factor chances. Are Snowflake and MongoDB on a collision course? Last week, Snowflake unveiled a number of announcements for expanding its footprint. It's embracing the data lakehouse with its new support of Apache Iceberg as an alternative to the Snowflake native table format. It's adding transactions and it's seeking to make developers first-class citizens in its marketplace. And with new support in Snowpark, Snowflake is showing that it's serious about accommodating Python developers with deep integration with the Anaconda portfolio of curated Python libraries. While Snowflake's market capitalization has recently come down to earth along with the rest of the tech sector, both Snowflake and MongoDB are perceived as leading cloud-native database alternatives to hyperscalers. Both have the distinction of becoming true frenemies of AWS. At first glance, it appears that the stars are aligning that both will start seeing each other in their respective radar screens. Both are tiptoeing into each other's domains. Snowflake has added a transaction store and is actively courting developers, while MongoDB has quietly released its first credible SQL engine, and not to make MongoDB into a relational database, but to support analytic queries. It accompanies other features such as expanded federated query capability to extend Mongo's reach. In the short term, the parallels in both companies' approaches are superficial. Snowflake is appealing to a very different kind of developer than MongoDB, but in the long run, we expect both will run into each other. We have noted that while databases will continue to differentiate, the market is demanding overlap. Snowflake addressed that from the get-go as one of the first cloud data warehouses. This was in the days before they repositioned to Data Cloud to support JSON as a first-class citizen. And despite its public pronouncements, MongoDB is quietly embracing SQL. The common thread is that both are seeking to leapfrog from department to enterprise, and as they do so, they must of necessity broaden the appeal to more constituencies. Today, Databricks is Snowflake's more obvious rival. Yes, there is competition from the hyperscalers, but Snowflake and Databricks alike are positioning themselves as analytics ecosystem destinations in a multi-cloud world. Both are headed toward the data lakehouse. Snowflake is approaching it from the constituency of the data analyst comfortable working with SQL, while Databricks has more traditionally appealed to the Java, Scala, and Python developers that Snowflake is courting with Snowpark. Man loses data for entire city's population after a night out of drinking. There are some very basic online security measures that everyone should take to ensure their private data is protected. Use strong, unique passwords. Don't download files from sources you don't know or trust. And don't store the personal private data of 465,000 residents of an entire city on a single USB flash drive. Amagasaki, Japan is currently experiencing this very security crisis after an unnamed employee of a company tasked with providing benefits to tax-exempt households lost the USB drive containing the sensitive data of the city's entire population, according to CNN. What data is contained on the USB drive? For starters, the names, birthdays, and addresses of 465,000 people that were just recently transferred to the drive from the city government's information center. The drive also includes residents' tax information, banking account names and numbers, as well as info about public assistance they might be receiving. According to public broadcaster NHK, the employee, who is in his 40s, went drinking at a restaurant on Tuesday, the day he transferred the files to the drive. He ended up falling asleep on the street. When he woke up, the bag containing the USB drive was gone. Local authorities held a press conference on Thursday to share more details. While the employee was authorized to access the data, he was not supposed to transfer it to a separate device like a flash drive. As of now, there has been no known leak of the data, and the drive is apparently encrypted. So let this be an online security lesson for everyone. Do not keep hundreds of thousands of people's sensitive information stored on a USB flash drive that you take with you while having a night out on the town. It's not a good cybersecurity practice, to say the least. So that's it for the last week in the world of data. This is Yasu Mananjiruwala thanking you for your time. I wish you all a very good week ahead, and see you next Sunday with the latest happenings in the world of data. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel, to comment on this video, and to like it. Thank you so much.